who's going to be making the plays in this division this year. Give you some of the superlatives. We're talking MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Breakout Player, and Coach of the division. So let's get into that.
All right, so let's start with the MVP, cream of the crop of the division, of course. Let's go with, I think at least the newest member, at least the newest wide receiver to make the Madden 99 club.
Yeah,
Justin Jefferson. From day one, he's been probably a top at least 10 wide receiver. Over the last 2 years, I think he's been closer to top 3. I currently, right now, think he is the best wide receiver in football. From the route running to the speed, the separation, the hands. That catch in Buffalo last year, that is unbelievable.
Insane.
The body control. And I do think he's got this element of like a good swagger to him that you need as a pro athlete, but I don't think it crosses over into
like diva.
Into an issue, right?
Yeah.
I think he's a grown up in the room, but he also has that little bit of swagger, that little bit of it factor that you're looking for. Overall, very, very nice player. MVP of the division. Almost feels like a no-brainer.
Because when you look and you assess the value here, without Justin Jefferson, what would that offensive weapons room be like in Minnesota?
And they don't have Dalvin Cook anymore, so it would be T.J. Hawkinson at tight end, KJ Osborne,
and you're out.
KJ Osborne, yeah. Now they have Jordan Addison. Oh man, that could be a lethal 1-2 punch. I totally forgot that.
Right, but if you take the one away, a lot of times the two doesn't look as good.
Right.
So I think Justin Jefferson holds the most value here for sure.
I would agree. All right, Offensive Player of the Year. This is somebody that we both have as a very, very underrated player. I already mentioned him once. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah.
I think, and I said this 5 minutes ago. The production that he has a number one level production just because he doesn't have the stature and the size as a typical number one. He's under the DK Metcalf or the Jamar Chase size.
Yeah.
But very, very productive. A lot of touchdowns, good yardage. Trust me, I had him on my fantasy team. Fantastic.
So did
Love
I.
it.
Yeah.
Really nice player. And I also think he brings that leadership aspect to the wide receiver room that they need because they have a fairly young offense. Even him as a young player, he's taken that leadership role.
Yeah, it's huge.
So he's one of my favorite wide. I think he's a top 10 wide receiver, and it's more of a hot take because a lot of people don't view him as a big time number one. Right. I think he is. I think he's fantastic.
So we had him as our breakout player last year in this division.
And didn't he have? Now we got to look it up. What did he do last year stat wise? Let's see.
He was fantastic. So this year he's still even coming into his own. I don't even think he's at his peak yet.
Let's look. So. Yeah, last year 1,100 yards, 6 touchdowns. He was averaging 11 a catch. That's fantastic. He's really, really good. Really good.
And like
106 catches, just a catch machine.
Somebody to lean on that offense. Somebody to help out Jared Goff because we've talked about Goff a lot. He's a really good quarterback, but he needs things to go his way. He needs weapons to throw to. And Amon-Ra provides a great one right there.
It wouldn't surprise me if he's got 120 catches. We do this every now and then. I'll make a prediction stat-wise.
Yeah.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, I'm going to go 120 catches, 1,350 on yardage, 9 touchdowns. That's a damn good year. That's a Pro Bowl year. I'll tell you that right now. That's probably even an All-Pro year.
Yeah.
I got a Defensive Player of the Year. There's not a ton of defensive talent in this division.
Yeah, we're
going through the Vikings terrible. The Lions don't have a ton of talent on defense.
The Bears got rid of most of theirs.
Yeah, the ones they signed I don't view as MVP, Defensive Player of the Year level players. So we're gonna go Jair Alexander because I think at his peak 2 years ago he was a high end corner, probably a top 2 to 3 corner. Had a down year last year. I do think he rebounds a little bit, returns to top 5 to 7 level DB.
I can see that, yeah.
3 picks, very, very locked down on the outside. So I'll go Jair Alexander for Defensive Player of the Year.
I agree. In a division with not too much talent on defense, he certainly rises to the top. And that's not a dig at him at all. He's a very good
he was still good last year. He just wasn't the level that he was the year before.
Right. And I just think when you look at this division as a whole, there is such a lack of talent on the defensive side of the football. So, and that's especially weird too with Dan Campbell. You would expect.
He was a tight end, but he is that tough, defensive. He almost he reminds me of a defensive coach.
Yes,
but he should get a lockdown DB. They tried with Jeff Okudah, it didn't work out.
Yeah.
They got what's his face from us, Sutton. Yeah, so that's a tough loss.
Him.
No, he was good last year.
He's all
Let's get him
right.
started. Yeah, he was okay. They overpaid him. Yeah,
Yes.
they overpaid him. Okay, either way. Also one thing with Jair Alexander, DBs are very valuable, right? So if you're looking at defensive player of the year, you're looking at like somebody that gets a lot of sacks or a lockdown DB. So that's kind of how we got on Jair Alexander. All right, breakout player of the year, Aiden Hutchinson, second-year player out of Michigan, edge rusher for the Detroit Lions. Again, edge rusher, sacks. Started slow last year, started to pick it up towards the end of the year. He had like a stretch where he had like 6-7 games without a sack, picked it up at the end of the year. I think he kind of keeps feeding on a very good second half of the season. I think one of the main problems there is he doesn't have a ton of talent outside of him on that defensive front, so he's getting doubled a lot.
Yeah.
Like for a rookie, he faced a ton of double teams. So that's my worry there. I do think he'll break out somewhere around like 13, 14 sacks, like top 10 in the league in sacks. I think would be like a good benchmark for him to hit in his second year. And I think if he does, like he's not TJ Watt level, but could he be TJ Watt in the sense of 1 or 2 games out of the year? I'm not saying he's going to win the game, but he's going to make a game-breaking fumble recovery, forced fumble, like big sack on a third down. Like I think he's capable of having one of those high-impact plays that damn near win a football game for a team.
Right, and I agree with you there. And he does, his style reminds me a lot of TJ Watt, right?
Yeah, he's not quite as quick, but he's got some quickness on the edge.
And that's the main thing. When he can figure out his pass releases, and that might take a year or two. So, like, a breakout position here, I think, is perfect for him. It's going to take a little bit of time because those tackles in the NFL are not like tackles in college football. I mean, it's a whole different game.
He reminds me of not Nick Bosa, but Joey Bosa. Joey's a little bit bigger, not quite as quick as Nick Bosa. Right, Aiden's not the quickest edge rusher, but he's got a good combination of size and speed.
He's got a hell of a lot of strength.
Yeah, right. So he's strong, fast enough to get around the edge. All right, coach of the year. We'll go Dan Campbell here. Now, I do think, yes, Kevin O'Connell will win the division at 10-7, but I think Detroit makes the playoffs. And for Detroit making the playoffs for the first time in what? 10-ish years?
Mm-hmm. Longer than that, maybe even. Keep going.
No, I know it's not longer than that. I know the Jets have the longest drought, and they got there with Sanchez in like 13, I want to say. But either way, I think the standard is not making the playoffs for the Lions. So if Dan Campbell can get them to the playoffs, which I believe he will, even win the division, which I don't think they will, but I think they'll get very close, it wouldn't shock me if they did. So to have a season close to double-digit wins, maybe even over double-digit wins, maybe win the division, definitely make the playoffs. That's going to be a huge step forward in the process of rebuilding Detroit, and they're almost there. So I think it'll be a big move for Dan Campbell.
2015.
Okay, 2015, yeah. So it would be 9 years.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. Yeah, feels good.
So either way, those are the superlatives. Run us back down through the list.
Justin Jefferson at MVP. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Offensive Player of the Year. Jair Alexander, Defensive Player of the Year. The breakout players, Aiden Hutchinson and Dan Campbell, is the Coach of the Year.
Perfect. I'm excited. Another division down.